We have to face separation from everyone and everything we cherish, from parents, friends, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, and children. It takes place separation, and as a result, suffering. Then the Buddha says, not to get what we desire. That is dukkha, that is suffering. Generally, we desire pleasure, wealth, fame, and praise, but instead we meet often with pain, with poverty, with dishonor and blame. As a result of this, there comes suffering. We want to remain young, but we have to grow old. We want to be healthy, but we fall sick. We would like to live forever, but we have to die. Thus, even those types of physical suffering can become types of suffering, not getting what one wants. These three, the union with the unpleasant, separation from the pleasant, and not getting what we want, these can be called frequent dukkha, because we meet them quite often in the course of life. Then the Buddha sums up the whole First Noble Truth. He says, in brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging are dukkha. With this statement, the Buddha indicates that all our experience is included in dukkha. And thus, this aspect can be called constant dukkha, continual dukkha. Now we have to understand what are meant by the 5 aggregates of clinging. The 5 aggregates are the basic components of our experience, the basic elements of our existence. We exist as psychophysical organisms, and this organism can be broken down into 5 types of factors. On the one hand, there is the material form that covers the body, the material body with its sense faculties. That is the physical, the material side of our organism. Then the other 4 aggregates, those cover the mental side. That's the analysis of mind. The mind is analyzed into 4 groups of factors. That is feeling, vedana, the factor by which we feel pleasure, pain, or indifference. Perception, that's the 3rd aggregate, is perception, the factor by which we take note of the properties of objects. The 4th aggregate is the aggregate of mental formation. That is all the mental acts of volition, of will, the different desires, the emotional states, the habitual tendencies of the mind. Then the 5th aggregate is the aggregate of consciousness, vijnana, the basic awareness of an object. So we have the psychophysical organism made up of these 5 aggregates: material form, or the body, and the mind, which is made up of feelings, perceptions, the mental formations, and consciousness. And the reason these are all included in dukkha is that they are all impermanent, changing from moment to moment. In fact, they are only events, momentary events without any inner core, without any substance underlying them, lasting through time. What we call myself, my being, is just a combination, a compound of these 5 insubstantial aggregates, changing from moment to moment. And because our being is always changing without any solid substance inside of it, there is nothing we can hold to in our personalities, in our being, as a basis for lasting happiness. Even though we seek security in the 5 aggregates by clinging to them, by identifying with them, by taking them to be mine, what I truly am, myself, we can never find that security. For the 5 aggregates are just a process, the becoming. And this becoming of the aggregates, this goes on from life to life, continuously. As long as it goes on from life to life, we continue to meet the different forms of suffering. Thus, the aggregates are the basis for all dukkha, for all suffering. It is they that are born, the aggregates that are born, the aggregates grow old, the aggregates fall sick. The aggregates meet pain and sorrow and eventually die. So the 5 aggregates of clinging are dukkha. Then, to make it clear that dukkha means more than ordinary suffering, that it has this extended sense, the Buddha explains sometimes that there are 3 levels of dukkha. The first and most elementary level is ordinary suffering. This is called dukkha dukkhata. Dukkha as ordinary suffering. This signifies experienced suffering. And this experienced suffering can be either bodily or mental. Bodily pain stands out most clearly in the cases of accident, injury, sickness, in violent contacts with the body. Then there's mental suffering, mental pain. This has a great range from momentary feelings of irritation and annoyance down through deeper experiences of disappointment, of sorrow, grief, frustration, down to the very deepest experiences of anguish, dejection, and despair. All of these are included as forms of mental suffering. So bodily pain and mental pain, these make up dukkha dukkhata. Dukkha in the sense of actual felt suffering. But then we come to the second level of dukkha. And this takes us a step further, a step more removed from felt suffering. This is called dukkha due to change, viparinama dukkhata. At this level, we see that all our pleasant experience is really a form of dukkha. The reason is that all pleasant experiences are subject to change. The objects that give us pleasure are impermanent. They don't last. And therefore, the pleasure that we get